everyone, and thank you for being interested in our session today about sustaining regional collaboratives. Our session is called Building the Future, Strategies for Sustaining Regional Collaboratives. And I am Liz Litzler. I'm the director of UW, University of Washington, Center for Evaluation and Research for STEM Equity, also known as CERC. And I also have here Jana Foxe, who is also my colleague at UW-CERC. And this work is supported by the National Science Foundation, Eddie Bernice Johnson Includes Alliance, and is funded to the Aspire Alliance that was funded by Includes. So thank you for that funding that has enabled us to do this work so far. So a little bit of context. We at CERC have been the evaluators for the Aspire Alliance for a good number of years. And we were specifically also the embedded evaluators with the Regional Change Initiative, which is what this whole speaker series is about. And in year 6, our organization worked to create a rubric so that we could measure program sustainability with respect to the evaluation that we were trying to do to understand how the different parts of Aspire were trying to extend their work. And so in year 7, we continued that work. We've been testing and refining the rubric and building a user manual, and we're here to share what we've learned with you. So you're going to learn here a new definition of sustainability. You will learn become a little bit more familiar about all the dimensions of sustainability and how they are just the fact that they're interrelated. And you'll have access to a new rubric that you can use for your own regional collaborative or for other initiatives.
Thanks, Liz. So I will talk to you about what we consider sustainability to be. So when we think about sustainability, there are many different ways to define that, but functionally, what does sustainability look like when a project is nearing its end? So we have, in our work, taken an expansive definition of sustainability. And we argue that there are many different ways that that sustainability can kind of manifest with regard to a program. So you can choose to either continue a program as is, in whole or in part, adapting certain aspects of it to a new situation or a new funding climate. You can also adapt the program itself. You can change aspects of the programming, or you can rescale the program, make it larger or smaller as appropriate to the new environment. You can also choose to try and find new adopters to propagate the program into other organizations so that it can live on elsewhere if it's no longer viable or suitable for its current organizational environment. And when we talk about sustainability and sustaining a project, we're talking about a process, and we define it as a process of maintaining the positive impact that a program has. So when we think about sustainability, this means that it's a process that requires constant nurturing, and it also means that you can move forward in terms of sustainment, or you can also move backwards in terms of sustainment. So it is a process that requires constant attention. The burden is also on presenting evidence. You need to provide evidence of that positive impact, both to funders, to evaluators. And that's an important part of sustainability, is being able to demonstrate that positive impact as well. So when we think about our rubric, what you see before you here is the structure of our rubric in kind of a simple form. So this is our Program Sustainability Assessment Rubric tool. We have sustainability viewed along 7 different dimensions, which is this first yellow column you see here on the left-hand side. And then we consider sustainability as taking place in 3 different stages, and those are the next adjacent columns. The first stage is developing, the second stage is stabilizing, and the third stage is optimizing. But when we look at these 7 dimensions, funding through partnerships, we want to emphasize that no dimension is more inherently important than another, and there may be certain contexts in which you may want to devote more attention to certain dimensions relative to others. And we argue that this is dependent on the context of your program. So let's look at these dimensions together really quickly. So funding is relatively self-explanatory. That relates to financial resources. Personnel relates to staffing and roles on the project, the qualifications of those roles, and it can include volunteers as well. Information resources concerns the documentation in your organization concerning policies and processes and procedures and how those are organized and what is available to make those processes clear. Then we have propagation, which refers to the adoption of your work or your initiative or aspects of it into new environments or organizations. Evaluation and learning revolves around using data and data-driven solutions to improve your program and informing your program based on that data. Culture is a broad term. It relates to a number of different aspects of organizational change. It can relate to leadership culture. It can relate to responsiveness to partners, to community partners, and it can also concern community engagement and involvement in the project. And finally, we have partnerships. And partnerships refers to people or organizations who advise the work or help with the implementation or indeed the propagation of the work into other environments as well.
So we want to let you know that the sustainability rubric is available in a few different versions. It is on our CIRSE website. The address is here. And as we create and modify this rubric, which we have been thinking of as a relatively living document, we expect to continue to improve it. We will post updated versions on the website. So it's always going to be the best place to find it. Right now we have a narrative version, which kind of more within each dimension, it sort of more narratively describes what each stage looks like. We have a questionnaire version where you can actually sort of check off the boxes to answer sort of where you are within each dimension. And we are about to post a user manual. So that should be there by the time this, this video gets out. We're also working on potentially an Excel version that would allow you to actually make something or to answer your questions and in a way that's a little easier than looking at a PDF. So we're excited about these. We would like for you to go to our website, check them out. If you happen to take a look at them and think they're great or think they could be improved in any given way, let us know. You can email me at elitzler@uw.edu.
So we wanted to offer you a few tips in case you're interested in using our rubric or would like to know more. So if you want to use either the narrative version that Liz mentioned or the questionnaire version or both, we have a couple of bits of advice. So the first is that we would advise you to look at each of the 7 dimensions of sustainability that we went over with you today in the narrative rubric, because this is a particularly useful document that refers to each stages, and think about which dimensions refer to either challenges, dilemmas, or other quandaries that your regional collaborative is currently facing, and answer the prompts in relation to that. We also advise you to complete the questionnaire once you've done that. We don't think it should be an exhaustive effort. You can spend around 30 minutes thinking about the questions if you're completing it individually. Collaboratively, of course, it might require discussion and take a little longer. And we would encourage you to try and identify action areas where you can move forward on certain aspects to improve sustainability. We would then encourage you to reflect, make some time with colleagues to reflect collaboratively on the results of the questionnaire and what different answers to different items were. And you might wish to focus on specific dimensions that either are more interesting to you, more puzzling to you, or more challenging to you. And for areas where you have identified that you are in the developing, which is the first stage, or stabilizing, which is the second stage, ask yourself how you can move to the next stage and what actions you might want to do to get your program into that next following stage. And then for areas that are optimizing, where you are doing particularly well, ask what you can do to maintain that momentum or even to build upon it. And of course, we really do want to emphasize that we want people to use this rubric in a way that is most useful to them. So don't be discouraged from skipping certain things that are less relevant to you, or maybe zooming in on specific item areas or dimensions that are more relevant for you. Understanding that there might be areas where you want to skip it. So don't be afraid to customize it for your own good use.
And I'm just going to double down on that message a little bit because we want you to use this rubric in whatever way works for you. So adapt it to your own circumstances. As Jana said, you don't have to answer every question. You can choose not to only focus on 2 of the dimensions, however you'd like to use it. We have offered this under a Creative Commons license. We just ask that you cite us, but you can modify it for your own non-commercial uses. So feel free to do that. And just make sure you cite us, even if you modify it. Please share it with your colleagues. If you think it might be useful to someone in your world, please pass the website along and the resources along. We would love to see this be out in the world even more. So thank you for your time today. We hope that this helps you think about program sustainability in a different way.